Hello, I've only just recently been studying the situation in South Africa, and it's pretty alarming, and not just for white farmers. It's a population of 70 million people who are looking down the barrel of a very, very bleak future. And the the sad thing is that they've got all the infrastructure of a modern society, even though it's it's not spread right through the population. It's concentrated, but it's there, and they have a modern government. They have everything set up, and it was the current system was set up in 1994 with international help. It would not have happened without international influence. And if the international community doesn't act very soon again to stabilise that country for all 70 million people who live there, then that could, it could be the start of a domino effect. Either way, it's going to be a chain reaction. If Western, Eastern, you name it, all the nations with money and a strong government, if they all help, then that could be a chain reaction throughout the whole continent of Africa. That gives people just the basics of law and order, a roof over their head, clean water, health, education. Just we need to set up the basics, and starting with law and order. Like the ANC has been in power since 1994, and no government can resist corruption over that span of time. So it's very heavily entrenched, and that's going to be a difficult situation. And it's going to have to be by province, run by different the UN. So different nations are going to have to take responsibility for different provinces, and just start at the basic level of just providing law and order for starters. That they've got, South Africa has the world's highest crime rate, and so as soon as you can make people feel safe, they can start going about their daily lives and working and sharing and letting their kids out to play soccer on the street. So it has to happen now, or very, very soon, and not a regime change. Regime changes have to happen internally. So in theory, South Africa is a democracy. So to actually just put the mechanisms of democracy back into working order is that's the biggest task, and it's there, and so it can all happen. And people are going to say, where's the money going to come from? Well, the world has lots of money. The world has resources. The world has taken lots of money out of South Africa, so I'm sure we can give some back. And ultimately, then you are empowering these people to become part of the world economy, and so there is money to be made through this. And once you have people living in a settled society that's happy, they're going to want iPhones and washing machines and televisions, and they're going to need solar power and everything, health and hospitals. And the alternative is, it looks like civil war and a situation. You've got Zimbabwe. You've got the perfect model of a country that failed, and where Western powers failed to act to stop a tyrant from destroying his own nation and causing so much suffering. And there's so many countries around South Africa that depend on them. So it's not just one country, but if we can help South Africa to get back on its feet, then we're helping all those countries around, and ultimately the whole continent of Africa and ultimately the whole world. How many refugees can we take? We can't let every nation of the world dissolve into chaos, and we just can't. So it's not just helping South Africa. It's a new step forward for the entire world, and people are going to ask, who am I to say this? Well, I'm 40 years old. I know I look young, but I'm 40 years old, and I'm just finishing a university degree, and I've been studying history and philosophy and politics. I've taken a very strong interest in it my entire life, and I've just about finished a university degree. And if I'm wrong about any of this, then please, I'm happy to learn and see any error that I've made in what I'm saying. But please, do some research and look at the studies, the documentaries being made in South Africa of what the situation is like, and they need help. They needed help in 1994, and that was a huge thing. But then there hasn't been a follow through. It hasn't been like, okay, here's a new democracy. We're going to help you make it work. It's like, yep, you guys are right. Just it's wrong for us to interfere from here. If it's wrong for us to interfere from here, it was wrong to interfere back then, and it wasn't. It was the right thing to do back then, and it's the right thing to do now. And even that situation is going to have to be monitored, because countries like the countries that can help the most, Russia, China, and America, don't have the perfect model of democracy at home. So it's that could be a learning curve for them to actually help put it into action here. And just on the community level, start on the province level, so that if you try to start from the top down, that's going to be impossible. It's not going to work. Whereas if you can break the problem up into smaller pieces, and which it is, every country has its states and provinces, and they contribute to the federal system. And hopefully one day, in 5-10 years' time, that they can hold free elections, and the ANC will have hopefully gone through a process of revitalising their principles, their democratic principles that are basically, from what I can tell, are non-existent. And there'll be other parties, that can stand up and say, okay, we're going to provide housing, food, security. We're going to lower the crime rate, and not just by policing it, but by giving people enough to eat and a future. And then people don't really want to commit crime, and they won't put up with crime, and so it goes back to a normal level. You never get rid of all of it, but a manageable level, because it's not manageable. There are so many people living in fear and danger, and just on a daily basis. So what else is there to say? Well, that'll do just for now. So please, everybody, we're all in this together. There's no one way or the other, and let's not get stuck on our ideals. There are ideals: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all that kind of stuff. But let's look at the situation that happened in Zimbabwe just recently. Let's have a look at the situation in 1994 when the new Republic of South Africa was created, and let's see what needs to be done. If the UN can even cooperate to do it, but it has to, with the IMF and the World Bank and everybody involved. So thank you for your time, and I'll look forward to the discussion that follows this.